Good evening. It's Friday, September 25th. It's the Wall Street Weekly Wrap Up with your host, John Newquist. And we had a down week, but it wasn't so down, but it was down. And could have been worse. A lot of people got out and maybe they made the wrong decision. Let's take a look at it. Our portfolio up 0.41 today. We lost by 2.1%, 0.21%. So it was 1661. Now we're out there. Of course, stocks are very highly valued, according to Jay Powell, the Fed chairman. People that's an issue that oh my God, he says the stocks are too high. Which you have to remember, when Greenspan, who was the Fed chairman, said it was irrational exuberance when the Dow was like $6,000-8,000, and it's at 40,000 today. Don't listen to that. They're not picking a stock. Their job is to do the interest rates, full employment, and everything else. One of the things we're hearing is, it's just like 1999. Well, let's go back to 1999. Cisco's PE was 60. NVDA is 50. So people can sit there and make a case, or 98, it can make a case of it. But, and it's the big difference, the PE of Cisco was compressing. It was getting higher, and the revenue growth was getting smaller, eventually down to single digits. That's a big difference. NVIDIA, that's why we watch these stocks. We want our high flyers, our high growth stocks to have double-digit PE and grow. We don't need them to grow if they're like 20, 30, 40, 50%, but we need them to be strong. We need to have, what I call no single-digit margins, Again, it's welcome to the Wall Street Weekly Wrap-Up. I'm here to patter about the market rally on optimism or resilience in the face of uncertainty. We've heard that better before the last decade. Haven't we heard it forever? It's fear or greed, seems like, and that's what the market does. And we're going to cut to the performance or the chase and not the pros. So, look at this. This is still good. How are we doing against the averages? Well, 17.4, S&P is our benchmark. We are 4.4% better, still hanging on. If we look at the SPY or the S&P 500, boy, this is a nice chart. It's coming up. We went through the April. It's slowly getting some slope up here. It has not touched the 50-day moving average since mid-April. Wow. That's a broad, diverse rally. That's a good sign. The Nasdaq's still higher, 16.4%, and that's, good. We're still beating. I can't believe we're beating the Nasdaq because we're not all tech. We're like small tech. When we go over our 3 techs that we own, some people say, we own the social, and social's got tech. Okay, fine. But I'm just saying, it's really not a tech portfolio. We're diversified. We got the real estates. They're hanging around 0, 1, 2%, maybe down 1 or 2%. But we're going to keep real estate in a diverse portfolio. Take a look at the notes. So the 2 years, coming up back, a little bit higher. 10 years up, 4.2 and stuff. Crude oil, 65. That's a pretty big deal. It went up a little bit higher this week. It was 62 last week. Natural gas, wow. 260 up to 321. What happened? I had to go dig this one out because they didn't report it anywhere. Unexpected shutdown of a major European light line for gas for emergency maintenance. Wow, that's a pretty big deal. I think that's a big deal. And we got plenty of natural gas. Just got to get it over to Europe. And that's going to be quite the interesting thing. Gold, 3,800 again. Silver, boom, 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 46. Getting higher. Remember we were at 44 last week. Now we're at 46. It will be $50. Gold will be 4,000. And copper, look at it slowly growing back. We'll go over 5. I'm always looking at 450 copper. We're in a growth mode. So we show the natural gas. that pipeline break, it jumped it. And will we get up to 450? I don't know. Could be a cold winter, could not be. But you would want to make sure you try to keep your place warm, right? Oh, the big news. We're going to go in there and talk about it. I'm actually going to have a piece of this ice cream from McDonald's. People say, I've been working with a video camera guy these last few days, and they're doing, big project, and I'm getting videotaped for safety stuff, and all these rules, right up here, 2 inches, whatever this is, should be above the top of the screen. Don't take a drink of water when you're being filmed. Oh, okay. All right. Don't eat anything. It's like, okay. All these rules, it's like I said, okay, I'm cooperative. I'm here to, not cause a problem, Well, NVIDIA and OpenAI, $100 billion to invest in OpenAI. And they're going to make the largest compute project in history in probably Abilene, Texas. CoreWeave's going to be in there, cloud contracts. CoreWeave's getting a lot of work, but again, we're trying to stay away from like CoreWeave, which is not profitable, and stick with ARM, Taiwan, and NVIDIA, which make the chip, which is profitable. Again, IPO for OpenAI is not imminent, but they're raising fundraising. You know what? Sam Altman can't raise that much money. I'm starting to realize this is why they're getting partners in, people who have cash. OpenAI is helping them get in. And, it's all kind of a mystery because there's a nonprofit that's got hundreds of billions of dollars out on projects and everything else. And how are they going to compete? It could be kind of ugly. If you had this say was a stock today, I wouldn't be touching it now. Is it above? The demand is real. You remember, 2025, NVIDIA sold out of everything. It's like going to McDonald's, I want a hamburger. No, come back 2026. That's what it's like. But people say you're not growing. Well, you can't grow if you can't get the chips. That's it. You grow, and we'll talk about NVIDIA's growth because we're in a feature tech this week. OpenAI, look at the revenue. Now you think about it, we need $100 billion. You only make $12 billion. So I'm just going to say, if you made 120,000, let's put it in numbers you can understand. You made 120,000, and you want $2 million to build a data center or do your project, and that's on top of other $2 million. I mean, how much could you leverage your borrowing for a company that really has only got $12 billion, or you're making 120,000? This is what I'm starting to worry. If they were a stock, they would be a bubble stock. Very leveraged, betting a lot on the future. And yeah, they're growing. Yeah, it went from 4 billion to this, triple. Let's say it's go to 36 billion. You still ain't, at the $200 billion level. So just keep that in mind. Walmart, Walmart's, everybody's waiting. When are you going to break the top? You bounced twice on this number over at 105. Well, it's getting close. This wedge. This is what I love about wedges. It stays in the wedge, and then when it breaks, if it's upside, you'll want to buy. If it breaks below, probably not time to buy. But I just thought it was interesting because, USB analyst, I visited the pop-up shop. Now, pop-up shops, if you don't know, are things that go up for like a week, and they sell a bunch of stuff. For the conscious person like me, Metallica pop-up shop, here it is. Come and get special merch for it, and everybody that's a Metallica fan goes right there and do it. That's what the pop-up shop does. But they've got a lot of progress in retail for the apparel, according to the analysts. Now, I haven't been to a Walmart pop-up shop because I don't have one in my city, nor that I don't know of any even in Chicago. But it's been doing better than average. So this is an interesting area because, retail apparel, there's a lot of inconsistencies from the top to the bottom. Fly missed on revenues. And again, this is the trouble with rocket contracts and a government that's moving slow,
This is a reminder. Why did you unplug me?
Oh my God, Alexa, get over it.
This is a reminder. Why did you unplug me?
Because I was teaching a class that I was getting recorded, and I can't have you interrupt me every second. Like, oh, you got a delivery. Oh, you need to order this and this. That's why you get unplugged. I'm sorry. When I got to get recorded, I have to. And he says, why? You're probably thinking, why did you not unplug me during this? Well, because I don't. I can deal with your interruptions and stuff. So Fly, it's uneven with the public sector rocket space. There's a lot of kind of stalling until the budget gets passed. So the revenue missed. It took it down. Boom, boom, boom. And that's why we eased in Fly with only 10% of the position. Yeah, we're down 20% of the position, but realistically, if we were 4, we're in the scheme of things. This is only a starting position. We've got 10 more or 9 more buys to get in a full position over whatever time period we choose. Again, revenues fell. Again, everything else is, like I said, this budget thing has got to get over, and then they can start doing more things. Remember, they got contracts with other, like Lockheed and other companies, but this is all part of everybody waiting for the budget to get passed and the debt ceiling to be raised, and then we're in there. I mean, the big, beautiful bill is passed. Oh, I'm going backwards. All right. ARM CEO Rene Haas, the demand curve for AI appears to be insatiable. OpenAI has too many problems to solve in the medical. I mean, he just was talking about OpenAI and the partnership. And they're going to use the big thing that, everybody got excited when Intel and NVDA partnered up, that they figured Intel might be the CPU of the future. Like, good luck with that. But they confirmed, they being NVIDIA, that the ARM CPU will be in the next generation of the Vera Rubin chip. Some people call it Vera, some people call it Rubin. I just call it the Rubin, but that's the total name. So remember, we got the Blackwell, which succeeded from the Grace Hopper to the Blackwell to the Vera Rubin. Oracle's going to be built in the center, and this is the area that a lot of people are watching. It's going to be the the $500 billion project, and it looks like it's getting started. Look at all these buildings of brown. It's like, wow, they do love brown down there, huh? Well, then they're going to build in Milan County, Texas, and the old Lordstown plant, and we'll see. Like I said, I deal with the Mount Pleasant 10 times any computer in the globe when it comes online in 2026. When is this going to come online? Probably 2028. A lot of people have ambitious plans, but I've been around these data centers. It doesn't quite work as you think it does. And heaven forbid there's a natural thing like a tornado or a flood or something else, and then you find out it could really get delayed. So, again, I know the Rubin is out, but is it scalable right now? You can go from 100 chips to 10 million chips, FCX had a big landslide in Indonesia, and that basically closed one of the big mines for gold. FCX, Freeport McMoran is in there, and of course, people get excited. It's coming near the top, it's going to break, maybe it's going to break, and then, of course, the mine collapses. People are out of it. People just said, I'm getting out. We've been in this stock for a year, so we're not getting out. The gold is still there. When it gets out, the gold will probably be higher, so it'll be worth more. So it's... they'll eventually get it out. I mean, unfortunately, I don't hear much about it. I just got a couple pictures, and they're just digging everything up. Again, Fuel Cell, we bought 3 stocks, Fuel Cell and Plug Power and Fluence. And, if Threads was working, you would have seen it on there. I got kind of banned on Threads for something. I think I reposted an issue about a person and homeless that obviously... you go talk to Zuckerberg's staff, because I'm a paid member. We can't tell you why you got suspended. You violated terms. I said, have you read it? I says, yeah, I know the terms instantly. I know I don't. There's nothing illegal. I'm not a bad profanity. I don't put any anything related to sex or politics or religion. Sometimes politics. Maybe go a little bit on. It's like crazy. It's like you're going to jail like 1930 Russia, but we're not going to tell you what it is. That's going to be a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit for people, because you pay and you can't use it. So tomorrow I'm supposed to be free to get out of jail Threads, so we'll see. Again, I usually want profitable companies, but I will take a chance on a sector company like Fuel Cell, where their revenues increased 97. Now, you looked at the...
This is a reminder.
All right.
What's happening to Bitcoin?
Well, Bitcoin is having a problem. Hey, Google, what's the price of Bitcoin?
One Bitcoin equals 109,700.
See, everybody's like, when's it going to be 150? It's already at 109. We'll show you the chart of Ethereum. This has been tough for a lot of these crypto people. I just go, I look at, I can buy Solana cheaper, Ethereum, not Ethereum, but Ripple cheaper. Those are the companies I'm going to be buying more of. I look at the downturn. Remember, Wall Street is the only place that runs out the door when there's a sale. we got a sale on it. Go buy it. Don't be getting excited if you believe in it. So fuel cells doing real well. Again, listening to different data center people. I mean, I go back to DeSantis and the comment, you want to build a data center, you better bring the energy for it, because we ain't going to jump up the rates for our local people to pay for your data center and making billions of dollars. So, fuel cells going to probably get it. I mean, how much are they related to data centers and all this stuff? The idea is that you need to store energy. The windmills may not work in slow weathers. It's going to be cold in winter, so maybe we don't get the solar as much. But this stock is heartburn. $4 to $10 down to $7. Again, a 10% position, and we just ease into it. And you got to remember, if you look at this 200-day moving average, this thing was a lot higher in the old days. This thing has been around for 25 years. I remember when it came out, like in 1999, 98, whatever it was, and you've lost money since then. You haven't even got your money back. So this is one of these rare cases where choosing an unprofitable company, go slow. That's what we're going. We're going to go slow. Ease in over time. If this drops to single digits, we're not going to be in it anymore if you're unprofitable. But let's watch it. Plug Power, again, another one. The 21% increase, in the area, they're big in hydrogen. And again, hydrogen is cheap and it's good. It burns clean. There's a lot of positives of hydrogen. But, Plug Power, look at this. This is up higher. Again, you could have bought it at 140. I tell people usually single-digit stocks numbers, like $9, $5. Those are not the ones that usually are going to jump up. Your stocks that priced at 50 can go to 500 faster than this can go from 2 to 20. But we're watching the revenues. Energy is hot. We're overweight energy. And I'm just think of it as a basket. We have 3 stocks. We're only putting in 10%. We really have only a 30% of a basket of stocks in there. So Fluence, again, 24%. These are nice numbers for these energy companies. And, Fluence sells all over the world. So, again, another heartburn. Look at the 200-day moving average. It was much higher than this. We used to own Fluence. I can't even remember what we sold it at. But once I saw the revenues drop pretty bad one quarter, I got out of it. We just said, okay, we're not going to wait for it to keep on going lower. But it's coming back. And look at 7 to 11. That's not as bad. But it is issue. There's again, these are stocks. Who's to say it doesn't go back to 7? Who's to say it doesn't go to 20? We'll see. If the revenues keep up going, the sales keep on going, people will get on. People are like, oh, I wanted to buy it at 4. Well, this is the April lows. They're not coming back for a lot of companies. You're not going to get it that low. The government shutdown. Also I had to record because I coughed. And you can't cough on video. So can't eat ice cream on video. But somebody says you're being passive aggressive. I'm not being aggressive. I learned stuff on the recording because these are pros. I have not been exposed to all these things about lighting. I got the lighting on me, and they said your cheeks are white. You don't want that. Turn the thing, kill the lighting, lower it down. Okay, I did. So I'm just showing you can violate every rule, and that's why you don't become a success. Don't do what I'm doing, is what I'm trying to tell you. Past shutdowns, decline modestly. Remember, a lot of barking on both sides, But I think October 1st it will shut down. How long will determine what the market does. If we go like 7 days and they're still barking at each other, then the market's not going to like it and it'll start to go down. And remember, we said this week to October could be a 10% decline. So maybe we get lucky. Maybe they'll settle it. I don't know. I just think, we're going to have to go through a shutdown. I don't know how many days. If the market goes down, they'll settle it. Because, last thing they want to do is cripple the government and do stuff.
This is a reminder. What will be the government shutdown?
Well, obviously someone needs to listen to me.
What will be the government shutdown?
They're arguing about the budget, and I don't know what the one side position. They want health care, and the other side they want this and this. It's just barking. They don't like the budget. They don't want to pass it. They're going to make it tough. And, the people that I know in the government are going to take the brunt beating. They'll get their payback usually, but, everything's up for grab. We don't know what's going to happen, and it's not a good time to have it shut down. So, I always look at it, if the big beautiful bill passes, you just take your losses and go on. Don't be trying to do this shutdown thing to get some more leverage and stuff. Ethereum, the longs were way too leveraged. Remember, a lot of these crypto people are, borrowing at leverage, paying whatever, percent, 3%, 10% leverage to go, 5 to 1. I remember the days when people went 20 to 1. You put 1,000 and you could get $20,000 of Ethereum. So, when you start dropping from almost 5,000 to 4,000 in a few weeks, or we go from, September 12th, you're at 46 and you drop 15%. You get your calls and you got to sell. And then, of course, once it sells, it jumps like a rock. So, we don't know. This could be like right over here. Is it going to go up sideways and come up and then go back down? Crypto, you can't map. I just look at it. I'm not a fan. I have Ethereum, but I'm not like saying this is going to win in the future. My bets are on Ripple and Solana. Okay, let's take a look at our techs. This tech is so uneven, and you have to go through it. I had, for some reason, the Fidelity sect, I couldn't pull up a chart for, so I went to the XLK, which is tech. Let's look at what's really popping. First, the dark blues are going up over 5%. Taiwan Semiconductor, of course, increasing revenues much more than last quarter. Palantir, AMD, and Dell. You took the quarter before, it was completely different. What's not doing well, the reds. NVDA has gone down from 65% momentum to 54. Again, I don't worry about that. That's a pretty good jump for a $4 trillion company. But they can't get the chips. If Taiwan Semiconductor could make infinite chips, this would be a lot higher. But they can't. So we're chip constrained. IBM, it's consulting. They're trying to do data centers, quantum computing, everything. Not so good. And of course, Baidu, China tech has not done well over the last 4 years. And then ARM, it's dropped. ARM is, like I said, it's getting close. If it gets single digits, we're out of ARM. Just remember that, because we have to have some reason why it's not keeping somewhat of a pace with NVIDIA at 55 and 44. So that's going to be an issue. So that's an issue that we want to look at. But the rest of them, it's up and down. These are just very volatile on sales. So. And of course, Broadcom, they act like this thing was Oracle. Where's our Oracle? Because, Oracle's been on the news. Only 11% increase. You act like this thing was 100% if you look the last 2 weeks with Oracle. Doing all the stuff I'm getting, I says, well, show me the performance. Show me the revenue. I don't see this big, huge revenue jump. You keep on talking about stuff. That ain't it. It went up, but it was below 10% before. So I'm not I had Oracle a long time ago, in the 90s, and I 7 times X'd it. I just don't see it, It's a data center, just like all our big data centers. They don't have anything special right now. So, and they might be buying, they valued, what was it, Tic Tac? They might be the data center for Kicker. Well, they already were, but we'll see, Peace Sky, because I forgot to take out the chart. It's in here. Alexa, what is Paramount Sky Global stock worth?
From CoinCodex.com, Paramount Global stock is currently trading at $11.94, up 8.01% over the last 24 hours.
This isn't even the right chart. I put a chart up there, and I don't even know what I put a chart of. Oh, well. Not very professional. 273. Let's see, went from 1, so it's a tech stock. I don't know why I put this chart up there. That's what happens when you're tired. You make mistakes. Of course, I couldn't even put the NVIDIA full chart. Holy smokies. You think I was professional. Oh, I know what it is. ARM, NVIDIA, and this would be Taiwan Semiconductor. So here's Taiwan Semiconductor. Forget, everything's right except for the name. 1.4 billion. pays a dividend, which is good. You know,
This is a reminder. Why did you cancel Disney Plus?
well, it wasn't Jimmy
This is a
Kimmel.
reminder. Why did you cancel Disney Plus?
You know, they're raising the rates. One of the things I was looking around is, you know, they were like, I think 2 years ago, like $8.99. Now we're going to be $18.99. You know, they want to get up there. They're looking at the price of all this streaming, and they're gonna be making some money. I mean, this is gonna go. How many people cancel? Well, I canceled. I'm not gonna pay extra money for something I really don't watch, but UFC. You know, I mean, that's, you know, it's like, all you watch is UFC. Yeah, 90% of the stuff I watch on Disney Plus with ESPN Plus is just UFC. So I don't really, you know, watch anything else. So I just said, you know, I cancel it. I'm not going to do this. And it wasn't Kimmel related, you know. But, you know, dividend, this is nice. I mean, it's a slow chart. Remember, everybody took the hit in here. But it come up, went up a little bit. You know, again, everything went down this week almost. And so it's not a bad chart. I mean, it's a good chart. If you start looking at where it was, remember, this was the high, and we broke through it. That's why you buy when it breaks through a high, and then it'll set new highs like here and here. So it's good stock. I like it. Remember, you're the only one making the NVIDIA chips that at that level of what we want. NVIDIA, you know, $4 billion or $4 trillion. Like, wow. Yeah, it's been a ride. And PE's at 50. You know, somebody on the CNBC, oh, it's PE of 26. Well, what are you using? 2027 numbers or what? I mean, I just go by what, you know, the computer tells me the PE is. And there's a little dividend, like 2 cents on every, you know, so many shares. I mean, it's like, okay, if Nvidia's at 100 and let's say 70, you get 0.2%. It's like, what, it's a penny or something like that? Very small money. But, you know, NVIDIA's chart is tough. It's broke highs. Now it's kind of going sideways since here. But that's NVIDIA. It can go sideways 9 months, as long as it keeps on selling and doing well. ARM, again, PE's high because, you know, the stock price has been lower than it was, but PE's higher over here. Again, no dividend because it's English stock, and market cap's not bad. But, again, we're worried about the growth. People did not like their earnings on this, and so when it came down with lower earnings and a lot of fear of, you know, that's unfounded, that NVIDIA is going to replace ARM CEU in the Vera, and that's not been true. Now we've knocked it out. But you don't hear that on the news. I watch it all day long. They're like, oh, the earnings are bad. They're going to get replaced by Intel. Where are you getting this? I mean, this is like, are you just trying to short the stock or what? You know, because it doesn't make any sense. And let's take a look at our map. We bought Plug, Fuel Cell, and Fluence, and we didn't sell anything. Who's our red dogs? Oh, really only 2, Oracle and Costco. That's it. And Costco, they didn't like their earnings. I didn't watch what Jim said about it, but, you know, I didn't put it up there because I think, well, I don't think they're doing anything wrong at Costco. They're doing everything right. It's just earnings were not as high as everybody wanted to be. And, of course, Oracle, you know, it shot up a lot the week before, so now we get a natural sell-off and stuff because some people are just taking profit. The super greens, really just Tesla, you know, I mean, of all the big companies and stuff. And, but, you know, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Google, our big threes, our JP Morgan, our Lilly, ExxonMobil, that's good. You know, Boeing was up good too. You know, Boeing got a big order from, I think, Azerbaijan or something else. But overall, good week, and that's what we want. And we want to make a solid week, and we want to go in there. You know, we're getting close. The end of the quarter is on the 30th, and we have one more quarter to go. And I think, you know, like I said, unfortunately, I think we're going to have a shutdown. I have a feeling it'll be a lot of red. That's just my hunch, but I hope I'm wrong. I'll see you next week. Take it easy. Bye.